Welcome back to the Joint Dynamics Intelligent Movement Series podcast. My name is Andrew Cox and I'm one of the owners and directors here at Joint Dynamics in Hong Kong. And today my most special guest is my mate, Kirk Westwood. So Kirk and I are both from a place in Australia called Tamworth. And a little side note, today's Kirk's birthday, so happy birthday, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
And then as I introduce Kirk, and I just jumped in, didn't I, mate? I'll introduce Kirk and then he'll do a much better job. But from where I'm sitting, so I've known Kirk for a very long time. As it just mentioned, we grew up in the same town in a beautiful part of Australia called Tamworth. And whenever I think of Kirk, I think of, do you remember that poem, Kirk, Robert Frost, The Road Less Taken? And the last two lines, the reason why I know, one of my mates here in Hong Kong, he's got it tattooed on his forearm. Anyway, the last two lines are, taken the road less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. And when I think of those two lines of that poem by Robert Frost, I think of my mate, Kirk Westwood, because Kirk has certainly not had the traditional lifestyle that we grew up in, that's for sure. Kirk has been many things. He's been in the military, in the special services for a short period of time until injury took him out of that to his eye. He's also been something called a corporate chairman, ladies and gentlemen. He has coached individuals. Actually, one story off the bat, I sent one of my best mates, a client here, Rav, who's a businessman, owns lots of businesses, a hotel in Panama. His mate is of a similar type of person. I said to my mate, Rav, when you go to LA, you got to meet my mate Kirk, because I told Rav a lot about Kirk. And he introduced, and Rav made the effort, because he's a bloody great bloke. He made the effort to go meet Kirk. He brought along his friends. And as a result of that meeting, this other guy who was running lots of businesses said, you know what? I would like to hire this guy, Kirk, as my coach for a period of time. And he, speaking to this gentleman in after the coaching series, and Kirk said, okay, well, we've worked together enough and stopped that. But speaking to this guy in that, he spoke so highly of his time with Kirk that it just made me so proud. I always say, that's my mate Kirk from Tamworth. I always say that. His name, and lately, if I get to it, I guess I'd say Kirk's latest project is something called the Luck Bubble. He's launched that through YouTube, through social media, and as a result of this conversation, he's launching it through the Joint Dynamics podcast. G'day, mate. What did I leave out?
Holy dooly, but you did pretty good. One thing I remember about you is how quickly you can talk, and you covered quite a lot of it.
I'm going to do my best to slow that down.
But you got so much knowledge you want to impart, which is awesome. Everyone loves working with you because you just have a chance to touch them in ways in an appropriate fashion. You have a way to touch their lives, and I really appreciate that. And even with our mutual clients and friends, they say the same thing about you, how much they love working with you. And even just talking about Rav and Nilesh, I love them. They're just awesome. Nilesh came along in leaps and bounds. As I say about good luck or good fortune, which is what I'm known for. Luck doesn't come from what you do. Good fortune is born as a byproduct of how you are in the world. And Nilesh took on the work and stepped up and had a chance to create in ways that he didn't imagine at the time. Had some of the most profound moments of his life together with me, which was awesome to see. It's always rewarding when you're working with clients and they don't see it themselves. It's when people say to them, wow, you've changed. Real change. You can't change without changing. People talk about change all the time. There's a lot of coaches out there and they're talking about change, but it's not really change. It's just, it's Band-Aids on bullet wounds. It's concerned with the way it looks as opposed to the courage of changing the way that you are in the world. And that takes guts. Can
we dive into that, Kirk? So the first thing that I just wrote down on my pad, you said it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. How do you differentiate the two of those? Because who you are is what you do, isn't it? Is there a subtlety that I missed there? Would you please quantify that for me?
Absolutely. And I'd say more how you are, not who you are. It's how you are in the world. You see, the wealthiest of people I know and the most successful people I know, when they have successes, it's just another Tuesday. There's no great drama that comes with the victory. It's just they expect the success. Now, it's not as simple as expecting success. It's they don't have any room for excessive emotion or thinking when it comes to creating what they want to create. And the same in combat. Like when I was with the commando unit for 3 years, and fortunately did not tour with them because of the getting stabbed in the eye with a stick that had explosives on it. That's what I came to understand about special forces operators from around the world, is they shared the same ability to just come back to the now. the way they were in the world. Sure, there's some rules. We could train people. I can train people in a trainable dynamic to just get the job done. There's no room for emotion or excessive thinking in combat. Just get the job done. 2, look after your mates. You don't have to like them, but you will love your teammates. Why? Because whilst I'm facing that way, looking after their back, they're looking that way, looking after mine. You don't have to like them, but you will love them, because the worst thing that can happen is something happens to them. Now, we don't go to combat to fight for our country or a cause, really. When we're there, it's actually to fight for each other. That's the difference. We lucky few, we band of brothers, what we wouldn't give to come here on this day for each other and to know what it's like to fight tooth and nail and be courageous to protect our opposite number, to protect you, looking after me and me looking after you. And the third facet in that is just have a good time. It's just a game. Life, it's just a game. And even at the highest echelons of combat, when it's life and death, that's more important then to keep it as a game. Because if it's not a game, you're stuck trying to solve problems that haven't happened yet, or resolve your past from the past, resolve things in your past. And what does it do? It takes you out of the now. And that's where the magic is. And that's what I observed of great operators. The way that they are in the world is stuff just works out in ways they never imagined it was going to work out. So it's my task to read people using my skills, my intuitive skills, and thousands of hours of experience of that, reading someone going, this is what you're preoccupied with all the time. There's only 1 or 2 things that you're preoccupied with. You think the world is this way and you are this way in it. You're not enough. You're not worthy. You don't have the capacity. You can't trust people. You're powerless. That's my job, is to lead people, to show them that. And unfortunately, that is a very painful process to understand that everything that's gone wrong in your life, you created. You misbehaved. The reason why you couldn't trust the girl was that for a year, you were so jealous you wouldn't allow her out because you couldn't trust her. So no wonder she ran off with your brother. No wonder she broke your trust, because you couldn't trust her to start with. So there's this dynamic that plays out, and that's my job. My job is to understand that. So there's aside from what you're talking about, that when you know thyself, and that's the great connection of all the great wisdoms on earth that I've traveled, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of rituals and practices with tribes from around the world now over 20 years, and they all come to the same truth. It's all about knowing thyself. It's the meaning of life. Know thyself.
You know what we should do, mate? Because we could easily just go down this path and talk about what you're doing now and these programs that you're creating. But what I would love to do is actually to go backward, to go forward. How does a bloke from Tamworth, from where I grew up, how's a bloke from Tamworth take the road less traveled? Like, can you tell people, was there a time, mate, when you were in high school and you went, you know what, this 9 to 5 thing that I see a lot of people do, that's great for some people, it's actually just not for me? Was there a moment that you had during your life as an adolescent, or did you just find yourself one day when you were in the US playing soccer and being an actor or doing all the things that you met someone that guided you, that you went, you know what, I want to be a little bit like that person, that bloke, that lady? Would you mind sharing, what was there a moment, or how did you find yourself where you are right now?
Yeah, that journey, mate. If you had told me I'd be doing what I'm doing now, there's not a chance in hell I would have just laughed. Like, what are you talking about? Getting out of Tamworth was something that we all did. We finished high school and we wanted out of a small country town. My path was I wanted to play soccer professionally. So I moved to the city and studied and played and unfortunately didn't play to the level that I wanted to, but it gave me opportunity. And then I wasn't as good as some of the other players. So the mental aspect of it, though, was something I was interested in. So I started meditating and looking at different ways of being better at what I do. Magic, if you will. Like, how could I play in the zone all the time? When I was really playing out of my skin, how could I reproduce that? So I started down that path, and of course I took on, like, early 90s. I did a lot of Tony Robbins work and NLP, and it was like a bull at a gate. I was like, wow, this is a great way to go about it. And I traveled and did his mastery stuff around the world, and was introduced, became good friends with Brandon Bays at the time when she was writing Journey, the great book that did really well around the world. about regressive therapy that could help cancer patients. And we became close friends. I got a chance to go and play football in the States. Coming out of the States, I kind of fell out of love with football and ended up with a TV show and on HBO. And then I got into acting classes, and I did like 7 commercials in a row. I made so much money, made more money out of doing soccer commercials than actually made by playing soccer. And it just, one thing led to it. It was kind of luck. I'd always been kind of lucky where I kind of just fell on my feet. And I became enamored with that subject, but I wanted more. You know, I started doing bigger and bigger TV and film roles and missing out on some huge roles that would have changed my life. And I wanted more. And a girlfriend said, I want you to come meet a mate of mine. He's a healer. And I said, I don't need a healer. I don't believe in that stuff. She said, yeah, but he's an Australian Olympic gold medalist. I want to meet an Olympic medalist. His name was Pete Evans. He's still my great mate. And I walked in to see Pete. He's the shaman to the stars in the States, in LA. And I walked in and he looked at me and he put his hand on me and I burst into tears. And what the fuck's going on here? Anyway, he and 2 other body workers worked on me for about 2 hours. And I just had all this stuff come up about not knowing myself, about being full of shit. No one getting me, no one understanding me. And anyway, I said, I came out of there and in a very NLP way, I said, I now command the powers of my conscious and subconscious mind to blast away any limitations imposed upon my body, mind, or soul. I walked out of there, and within a couple of weeks, I got sick with what I thought was the flu. And I actually was moving back to Australia to try and be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And the Olympics were on in 2000. And I partied like a mofo, and I was still sick. And after months, I couldn't shake this thing. I started sleeping a lot and losing weight. And my mum and dad came down to Sydney for something. Your mum and my dad went to school together. And my mum saw me and she burst into tears. And I was down to like high 60s in weight, like early 70s kilos in weight. And I just couldn't hold any weight. I was just so exhausted all the time. And I went and started seeing some experts, and they said, yeah, you've got something called post-viral syndrome. And there's no cure for it. It just has to play its course. I said, what's its course? They said, well, you take this pill to wake up and this pill to go to sleep. I said, for how long? They said, no, this is your life now. And I wasn't happy with that. So I started looking at different ways of solving this, but trying to find someone. I found a kinesiologist, that someone had worked with that had this condition and they got better. And then a whole journey of events about going down this path of different therapies. I met Robert Peng, the Qigong master, and he said, your energy is killing you. And I said, killing me? And it was the same thing. I walked into there and he started shooting energy into my forehead. He's not touching me. He's like this far away, but I could feel this jolt of electricity going through me, truly miraculous stuff that I had no idea what was going on. Because at that stage, I was down to 50 kilos. I was sleeping 20 hours a day, and I was that way for 3 years. And
like a koala, mate.
Yeah, right. Without being cute and cuddly, I was horrible, and life was over. And there was some dark times. And then there was some dark times. So how I got better was by doing stuff that I didn't understand, extreme rituals and practices that changed me. And that's a whole nother story. But it led me to the use of intuition. And I studied with a master of intuition. I studied with William Whitecloud, learning how to use intuition. And what I found was that we actually all have intuition. It's our birthright. I was actually really, really good at it. And I used it to get better myself. And then people started turning to me for healing. But I didn't want to be a healer. So you got cancer of the esophagus, and it's because you don't express yourself. You don't, like, you can take the cancer out, but it's just going to stay with you until you learn about yourself, which is you have this energetic blockage here that's stopping you from expressing. So, and I got great results with it, but I didn't want to be a healer. And at that stage, 2 mates of mine who were special forces had done some crazy stuff, and I became enamored with their life, and I helped them. And had some other buddies who were SAS and Navy SEALs, and they used my skills to help solve some problems, my intuition. So from that, I said, I want to do what you guys do. I'm going to jump out of aircraft. So at the age of 35, I went up to Special Forces selection, 5 years older than the cutoff. SOCOM, Special Operations Command, were interested in understanding how I could use my skills to help them. He said, well, if you can pass selection. So I went in as a reservist on full-time service, and I gave it a crack. For 2 years, I trained up for it. And then I got stabbed in the eye just before the end of selection. And I was gutted when my team toured Afghanistan, and I stayed behind. And that's when I started observing guys creating luck in combat. I became just absolutely obsessed with the subject of luck, getting shot through the webbing of their clothing, or bullets getting shot all around them, or a grenade going off and them falling to the ground, and then the blast going over their head. Enormous volume of occurrences of special forces having incredible luck happen, specifically Green Berets, Commandos, SAS, SEALs, Delta, MARSOC. And so I started traveling the world. I left the army and I started traveling the world, documenting rituals and practices that create what looks like luck. And what I discovered was, for years, I would embed with cultures, and shit, I do some extreme shit, dude. I got flatlined twice. I flatlined doing really extreme stuff that brought me to moments in my life where I was like, wow, I know nothing. But I'd see the connective thread between them all. And that was when Mark Burnett, a producer from Mark Burnett's stable, the guy who did, the producer who did Survivor and The Apprentice, they took me to the US and tried to turn what I was doing into a TV series. And it didn't work out. I went to other producers back and forth. They wanted to turn it into a reality show, and it just wasn't my bag. And I backed out of that. It wasn't serving the highest good. And that's when a company asked me if I could help them, if I could create luck for them. I was like, yeah. So I turned up and I used my skills and I just created and adjusted. I went for 1 month and I was there for 7 years, up until last year. Never wanted to be an intuit, never wanted to be a healer, but every time I step out of it, it just pulls me back. HBO put their hand up to look at doing a series called The Corporate Shaman, which was a comedy about this character being a shaman to corporates in Los Angeles and to stars, and it was loosely based on my life. It was quite, because there's a lot of comedy in just the absolute stupidity that takes place in the city of angels, and the bullshit that's out there as well. So last year when COVID happened, it just became obvious to come back to Australia. So I came back home, and my masters, I have several masters in different skill sets that I've studied over many years, and they all agreed that it was time for me to bring my work to the general public rather than just be so elite dealing with teams and companies. And so we released the platform 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, on YouTube, on Instagram, just giving stuff away for free. And then there's a link tree of stuff that people can do to create luck in their own life. It's a very simple equation. Just turn up and just do the 25-minute meditation I've got, and I guarantee you'll create luck. Do the 21 days.
That is the luck bubble, Kirk.
That is the luck bubble.
If I was to go looking for, on the basis of that statement you just made, and I was like, well, I've got to find that, I would go to, for example, YouTube and type in the luck bubble, or Kirk Westwood, the luck bubble, and there you would be discussing this.
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, apparently, LinkedIn. We just
TikTok, go on with the kids, you.
Giddy up, maybe do some dance moves.
Hey, far out, there's a lot of things that came up that I want to ask you about, where curiosity, and I speak on behalf of everybody listening, I hope. You said you flatlined twice. The first thing in my head went, oh, did you see the light? But the second thing was there, it's such a hard thing to, was there something, when you flatlined, Kirk, were you cognizant of what was going on, or was it just darkness? There was nothing, you woke up? Like, was there anything in that moment of, because, some people have an experience, an epiphany, a moment when they are out and they look down upon themselves. I've heard one story recounted, or many actually stories recounted. When you flatlined, would you choose one of those stories, or meld the two, mate? Sure.
Yeah. So I'd always hoped there was going to be that moment where I was going to touch the void, and understand it, but it wasn't like that at all. The first time I was I have a saying about people who want to do journey medicines, and ayahuasca and iboga, a DMT type medicine that gives you journey work, that she's there to show you your darkness. You have to go on the journey. So don't go and see the bloke who spent 2 weeks in fucking Peru and has some ayahuasca for you to drink. Go to the source and spend time with the people who harvested that medicine. Going on the journey, she will show you what you need, and it'll happen on the journey. So make the effort. You have to make the effort to go on the journey to be shown what you need to be shown. And for some reason, I always couldn't get into the Amazon to do the episodes of the show we wanted to do in the Amazon, doing ayahuasca. But then the Huni Kawin were representing the tribes of the Amazon at the UN, and they were coming back through LA. And a friend called me and said, "They're going to be here. Would you like to come along?" I was like, "Well," I tuned in. I was like, "Yeah, it serves the highest good. Forget what you think you know, Kirk, and turn up." So I turned up, and 3 nights in a row, I did ayahuasca with them. And the first night, nothing happened. I did hape, which is the tobacco, which I'm allergic to tobacco. And I was hoping it was going to be different, but I was horribly ill for 12 hours, just out both ends. Couldn't leave the bathroom just from hape. So every time I took the medicine, I was violently ill. I'd take more of the ayahuasca and in a cup, and it just couldn't stay down at all. And nothing happened. No, I had no journey other than journey to the bathroom over and over again. So the second night, we did it. We had a doctor there and observing it all. And second night, nothing happened. I drank like 4 cups and nothing happened. And then the third night, I drank like 5 cups of the medicine. And the doctor's like, "It's not working for Kirk." And the shaman, who spoke very little, the representative of the Huni Queens, said, "No, perfecto. No work. It's not working. No work. Perfecto. And he's like, "It's got to build pressure. Perfecto. Everyone has their journey, you know, through the translator." And then I got up on the third night and dawn had happened. They said, "Okay, ceremony's over." I'm like, shit, didn't work again. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Okay, so I stood up. And as I stood up, I was like, whoa, what just happened? And this is a dawn, and 7 hours after we've taken it. I sit back down again, and all of a sudden I fall back and my heart stops. And I could feel it, like I just stopped. My heart just stopped. And then I'm like, and I can't do anything. My eyes are closed, and I start leaving my body, and I'm looking at myself down in my body. And I'm going, I'm dead. And I'm like, fuck, no one's doing it. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, the guy's reaching across, he's like, he's not breathing. He's not breathing. And he's dying. He's dying. And the shaman says, "Let him die." And I was like, sit back down again. And I'm above myself. I'm on the ceiling. I'm looking down at me, and I'm just going, shit, I'm dead. There's so much stuff I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to get married, and I wanted to get a block of land. And I was like, shit. Oh, well, it's not that bad. And I kind of just relaxed, just kind of surrendered. And no pain, I just surrendered. And then when I surrendered, straight back down to my body. And I've just gone, my heart's going, boom. And I sat bolt upright, like, sat, and everyone's like, oh my God. And I look at the shaman, he looks me straight in the eye, and he goes, and that was what I needed to learn.
Thumbs up for you people that can't see what Kirk just did. Excuse me.
So they're like, good for you. Like, that's what you needed to do. You needed to surrender. You needed to die a death to the thing that's getting in the way. And that was literally dying. So it scared the shit out of everybody. It scared the shit out of me. And then for the next several hours, I was well deep into the psychedelics that go with taking a journey medicine and the journey. And I spoke to my recently departed father, and we had a chance to have the great conversation we never had, more visceral and more real than that.
Hang on. Whoa. Sorry, Kurt. Whoa. You just said recently you spoke to your departed father, you got to have the conversation you never had. Is it?
Yeah.
Can you rewind that?
Yeah. So my father passed away a couple of years before that. What's that? Recently, a couple of years before that. And well, first of all, the medicine came to me in the form of the film after I flatlined and came back, in the form of the feminine. And she just led me. She taught me a lot about myself and how I misbehave, how I hang on, how I try and control the situation, even with my skills, and how she's been leading me since I got sick and I slept for 3 years, and to pay attention to the bigger picture, but more importantly, understand how I misbehave, how I'm dedicated to proving something about myself. And after we had that conversation, I still remember it very vividly. She said, "Now I'll allow you to have the conversation that you never had with your father." My father appeared to me. Like, Trev, Dad appeared to me so clearly. And we just clearer than if he was alive, like on a visceral sense. Unless you've done journey medicine, you won't understand it. He was there, and he gave me the truth of what I needed to hear about me and about us and about him. And it's just resolution on a profound cellular level. I could never be the same ever again after that event of dying and also having that conversation. So that was.
Is it okay to share what you and your dad spoke about, Kurt? Is that okay? Honestly, that's obviously a private conversation. I could imagine. I know you're old man as well, so I imagine there would have been a couple of jokes in there. But is there a couple of core messages? Doesn't have to be the words, or it doesn't have. But was there a couple of core messages that you took away from that, or that you got a chance to say? What was it? As simple as Kurt, as you saying, "Dad, I love you, mate." Was it as simple as that, or was it more profound?
Much more profound than that. Much more profound than that.
Yeah.
So deeply answering and not telling you what you want to hear. It's just the truth. And that's the power of a journey medicine. We're just energetic beings having a human experience. And we drop the veil so that we connect to all time and space and all the information that's there. You know stuff. Put it this way. I was given information that I could not possibly have known from my father. And when I checked it with my mother, it was the truth. And it was powerful in understanding my father. It was powerful in understanding my lineage, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. Stuff that I could not possibly have known rationally. But when I went on the hunt to work out if that was the truth, it was the truth. So it's an embodiment. It's not a knowledge. Journey medicines don't give you knowledge. They give you a knowing on a cellular level. So the most profound thing was surrender. And, in times past that, having worked with spent time with the Yawanawa people of Brazil as well, and doing medicines with them. And I remember hearing my own voice once in a ceremony, and it came to me, and my voice has changed over the years to be what it is now. And it's still not even close to what it will be, because I've heard my voice as an old man. And I said to me, in the battle for happiness, thy sword, Kirk, shall be named surrender. And that was the greatest thing I took away from. And it's been a consistent theme. And as I take people to the most profound moments of their lives where they change, that saying always comes up, because when you think you're dying, the most powerful thing you can do is to surrender. Now, people see surrender as weakness. It's not. Surrender is the ability to be with what is. And that brings you back to the now. And that's where the magic is. So you can see all the marvelous opportunities you have to create in the world, create stuff that has meaning for you, not what you have done to try and get away from how you felt as a kid. The battle for happiness. They sword should be just named surrender. Stop the struggle. Stop the struggle. Just own it for what it is and keep creating. That was the greatest takeaway from that. It's a long story, long answer to your short question.
That was perfect. Thank you. Especially the part about in the battle for happiness, thy sword, Kirk, will be surrender. I love that. So now coming back to where we left off and where you are now with coaching and the programs that you're creating and the journey that you want to take people on, can you sort of unpack that for me? Because I think if I was to have a go at it right now, I'm sure it would be having something to do with know thyself and face up to the stuff, or maybe is it to form awareness of the habits and maybe the handbrakes that you have on? I'm not quite sure. I'm guessing from our conversation. So I work with you and you maybe hold a mirror up to me somehow, and I then go, I always do that, and maybe I'm stuck in this pattern and we're so habitual. And then working with you maybe bring me ways to know thyself. So I see my erroneous behaviors and then I have to confront them. And then somehow I'm assuming that there might be, you call it plant medicine, it's ayahuasca, it's all of those same things. Is that part of the journey? Do you want to take over from my botched up guessing of what you're doing? That's what you're doing.
Not at all. And that was the concept of doing the online stuff. So it's very, what's the word? It's available now. You can go to YouTube, you go to Instagram, you can go to the link tree, and from that, you can have an experience. You can see this stuff and you can have in 25 minutes, I give you an experience that I guarantee you will create what looks like luck in the days after that. You will. But then I guarantee you will not create luck. And that's when you don't create luck, you will have an emotion. And that emotion that's raised from that is a gateway for you. That frustration, that anger, that fear, that sadness, that overwhelming joy, that is a gateway to understanding what you do, because we live unconsciously in the levels of confidence. We're unconscious of our incompetence. My job is to make you conscious of your incompetence when you're going for something and it's not working. And then you consciously become competent. And then you become unconsciously competent. And it's like I must have heard this 3 or 4 times from masters around the world who would say to me the same thing, no contact with each other. They'd say, Kirk, what do you see? They'd be pointing at a tree and say, it's just a tree to the average man. But once you start becoming aware, you realize it's so much more than a tree. It is the micro and macrocosm of everything is this tree. But then when you become truly wise, you realize it's just a fucking tree. So there's that level that you need to go on the journey to know thyself. And that journey starts with becoming aware of how you get in your way. And that's signaled by or represented by an emotion that you have. And being with that emotion, just being with it, not pushing away and resisting it, you realize, holy shit, I've got some stuff going on here. And my job is to use my skills as an intuit. If you want to go deeper with the work you train with me, and I go, well, this is what you do. And look, with any client, it doesn't necessarily serve the highest good to work with me. I only work in a 6-month container, and I don't want to work with you after that, because I'm going to lead you to your darkness. I'm going to lead you to competence. And as I say to people in our contract, there's going to come a point in time where you don't like me. Well, you don't want to turn up because I'm not there to be your friend. I'm there to show you your shit. I'm going to push you until such time as it becomes, you just give up. You go, I just surrender. In that moment of surrender, you see how you get in your own way. And then you can be resurrected. You know, it's no coincidence that the hero's journey, as coined by Joseph Campbell, is the same story of every Hollywood film, 90% of them. It's the same story of every myth and culture. It's the hero's journey. How many people do you actually know that have been on the hero's journey? Very few, but if you do meet them, they're generally the most interesting people you'll ever meet. And the most successful, the most left alone, they just create good fortune in their lives by the way they are. It's not what they do, it's the way that they are. Because the hero's journey is fraught with danger and fear every step of the way. That's how you know it's the hero's journey. There's doubt about the next move. But you get the courage and you take that step. You take that step. You know, you leave the ordinary world. And then the mentor comes along, the master comes along and goes, you don't know yourself. You need to step across the threshold into the unknown. They refuse the call, but then something else happens. You're like, shit, I need to do this. Do I have the courage to step across the threshold? Most people don't have the courage to step across the threshold and surrender to being dashed against the rocks. And then you enter into the phase of tests and allies and enemies. And that's where you get pushed. How I push people is I tell them without knowing them. I say, this is what you want to go. I tune in and go, this is what you would really love to create. And they burst into tears, go, how could you possibly know that? But this is the thing that gets in the way. And I can give you moments in your past where this is what happened. You were 12, you're playing cricket with your buddy. Your brother smacked you across the back of the head. Everyone laughed at you. And you went, that's the way I am in the world. I'm not enough. I'm always going to be shamed. So shame, the stain that can't be removed. So you adopt this way of being in the world to try and counteract the shame. So then you have this misbehavior that takes place to try and be more. So you try and be big and showy and show the world how good you are. We all know these people. Shit, I am or was one of those people. Look at me, look at me, look at me. What's really underneath it? Well, I'm not enough by myself. I'm not worthy by myself to be enough. So when you put out that energy, people go, there's something about this dude. He's kind of full of shit. Like me, I was full of shit. Then they go, so you get that energy back. The thing you try and get away from is by virtue of trying to get away from it, the very thing that you create. I'm not worthy. I'll try and be more. So that's the wound that we get to. So stepping into the tests and allies and enemies, that's my job, is to put them under pressure. Say, this is what you really want to create. We're going to go after it. This is what's going to come up. And it's going to be the most painful period of their life. They're going to lose money. They're going to get into arguments. They're going to have their castle crumble. And they think it's going to be the end of the world. They're going to approach the innermost cave. My job at that stage is to hammer them, put pressure on them, make them go after it, show them how they're an idiot, show them, and more layers get revealed till they can't handle it anymore. And it's at that point, that's the ordeal. And for that day or two, they're on suicide watch. They're coming to the darkest moment of their life. that their whole life has been a waste of time. They've created their wealth. They've created being a world champion. They've created being a superstar with fame galore, and they still have no meaning, and they want to top themselves. How much of a cliche is it the sports star finishes his career and wastes it all? How much of a cliche is it the overdose, the rock star, the film star? Because it doesn't give them completion. They think getting the thing that they wanted, the wealth, the success, is going to make them complete. And it doesn't. It's the very thing they're trying to get away from. I'm not enough. And all the wealth and all the fame still doesn't bring it to them. This is the meaning of life, to know thyself. And unfortunately, that dark night of the soul, there's a lot of stars that I've worked with. They don't have someone to tell them the fucking truth. They have too much money. People just say yes to them. They don't have no people to say, actually, no, you're a dickhead. You need to sort this shit out. You need to do the work. You're a race car driver and you're really good. And then you have all this bad luck happen. It's not luck. It's that you would rather be right about how you are in the world, that things aren't going to work out, than just winning the thing that you want. So the ordeal happens. I talk them through it. I lead them through it. They energetically come to be with what is. They die a death to their ego. And that's where the medicine comes in handy. Doesn't always happen. I don't recommend it for everybody. But I just recently came back from a month in the Amazon. I'll tell you about it at the moment. And you go through the ordeal. Like, I spent every year, I try and go somewhere in the world that has a culture and a ritual that I have not been a part of. And this year, a buddy called me and said, come to Colombia. And I said, mate, only if I can be with a tribe. He said, how am I going to find a tribe? I said, mate, it always works out for me. Just make a call. So he calls his best buddy. His best buddy's like, Kirk wants to go to the jungle and hang out with a tribe. Do you know any tribes? He said, well, buddy, I never told you this, but 5 years ago, I had some severe health issues, and I met the tribe in Bogota at a temple, and they changed my life, and they healed me. Now I have 2 beautiful boys and a beautiful family, and they changed my life. He's like, what? Why didn't you tell me? He said, I thought you'd think I was crazy, but yeah, I can put them in touch, and maybe you can meet them in Bogota. So he calls them, and they're like, no, Kirk's coming to the jungle, and you're coming to the jungle with him. You're going to be his, because they don't speak English. They speak the indigenous language in Spanish. And he said, shit. So he calls back and says, Kirk's coming to the jungle with me. I said, you beauty. Pack my bag, 60 hours worth of flying. We fly into a small little airfield. And then I'm the only gringo, the only white guy for 1,000 miles. And we drive for 5 hours through the worst roads you can imagine. 7 of us in a Toyota Hilux ute. And it's the Badlands. And we ended up in a township where it was like a Wild West movie. It was like a Clint Eastwood film. You know? It was like gunslinger territory. And I'm like, this energy of this place. And I went to take my camera out of my pocket, and I looked across at one of the shaman. The shaman was like, okay. So I put it in my pocket. Then for the next hour, I understood why. We drove through some very dangerous country. And we got to a river. And it's only because I was with them that I was allowed passage. And we got on the boats, and we travel upriver to a landlocked village. And the shaman, or the taita as they call them, they are 9 brothers who were trained since birth to be shaman from their father, who passed away, unfortunately, a few months ago. And he passed on the knowledge to them since they were born. So they're the ages sort of 40 to 60 years of age, and incredibly powerful. And they came together to support me on my journey whilst I was there. They welcomed me in. We went up into a temple that they had built, and we did journey medicine that night, ayahuasca. And she never gives you what you need. The medicine never gives you what you need. She gives you what you want. She gives you what you need. And she never gives it how you expect. She gives it to you in a way that destroys you. And that's how you know you're in the right place. So the job is, and all cultures say this about DMTs, which is her first task is to show you how you're an idiot, show you your darkness. Then and only then can you move on to showing you how your greatness, what your greatness is. And that, again, could take 1 or 1,000 journeys to do that. And then she can come to show you the feet of God in that order. So her job is to show you the darkness. And as soon as you say you're going to go on the journey, it starts working for you. I've had clients that say they're going to go on the journey and never even got there, but had the effect of the ayahuasca or the iboga because they had said they're going on the journey. She has a way of working with you that your stuff happens. You miss flights, you get into arguments, you get into fights. People let you down. Your stuff comes up And your job is just to be with that and the emotion that comes with that. So with me, it was that first night was my guide snored like a train. And every time she would appear to me, she'd say, I'll show you what you need. And she'd start leading me. And as I'm leading, someone would bump me, someone would wear in hammocks, someone would start playing a harmonica, and I would wake up. And this happened over and over and over again.
So when you say wake up, you'd come out of the plant medicine, the ayahuasca trip journey.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So you went, yeah, got it.
Exactly. Because I walked up and they had you get a cup usually, this size, but they gave me a bowl of the most rank stuff you can imagine. I mean, it's like sticking your tongue in the armpit of a homeless guy. I mean, it's horrendous stuff. Anyway, I drank the whole.
Sign me up, Kirk. I'm coming to the jungle with you next time.
I drank the whole cup because I wasn't going to pussy out. I drank the whole cup and I looked at them and they're like, you drank the whole cup? And I'm like, I wasn't supposed to drink the whole cup. They said, you didn't have to. I said, why didn't you tell me that before I drank the whole cup? Now I'm going to be high as fuck. So I go back. I'm in there. Every time she appears, I'm getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And then the storm came. And this storm came and it just stayed over the top of us and rained like you cannot imagine. But the thunder and lightning stayed directly over the top of us, I swear, for 3 hours. The lightning was hitting trees outside the hut that we were in, and the trees were exploding into flames. And you know what it's like when lightning hits close. But I mean, lightning, we're in the jungle, and lightning's hitting these trees above us, and they're bursting into flames, and the rain would put out the flames. I'm as high as fuck. I can't get any clarity because I'm getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I'm just being, I know this world. I know just to be with what is. So I'm with what is. And I don't think much about it other than this anger. We finished the night. And the next day, they said, no more medicine for you tonight. I'm like, I just traveled 60 hours and across the world and dropped a lot of coin on this. I'm doing medicine tonight. And they laughed at me through the translator. I went, nah, not doing medicine tonight. It doesn't feel right for you to do medicine. Your pressure must build and there's something else is going to happen. And sure as eggs, the next day they got a visit from the cartel and, the guerrillas and people that wanted to know who I was and what I was doing there. And there's a lot of clarity that needed to take place. So they know stuff. And I don't have to talk to them about the journey that I had that night because they know exactly what happened for me. Like, it's just amazing. Their language is different. And the translation, that's the problem with a lot of people doing medicines. When you don't have the translator about what's going on for you, you don't understand that they are just energetic beings and they're telling you stuff all the time, but it's not in language. They're showing you what you're doing. They're like, no, you're not doing medicine tonight. The pressure needs to build. You're not angry enough. I'm like, shit. So that night we don't do it. The second night, the third night, we go to medicine again, and all the young warriors of the tribe came together, which was beautiful. It was about maybe 20 boys from the age of 10 to 16 joining the brothers and me and my guide. And they gave me special medicine, good stuff. And we're there and we did the medicine and it was bubbling. Like, it was literally like fermenting. As I was drinking, I could taste it, how fermented it was. I'm like, this is going to go straight through me. Sure as eggs. I woke up an hour later, they play one note. The oldest brother plays one note on the harmonica. It's a beautiful note, and that signifies that it's arrived. The medicine has arrived. And it did. Every time they blew the note, I was like, wow, I didn't realize it, but I am deep in it. She is in me right now. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom right now. And I go out in the jungle and I bleach. You've got your toilet paper in one hand and your sanitizing gel in the other. And you go like you've never gone before in your life in the jungle. And then you leave the toilet paper there because the rain's so heavy that it just dissipates into the jungle. There's a certain area you go in. And I come back and I'm in the hammock. And then a half an hour later, she's like, we need to throw up right now. And I'm like, okay. So I get up, I go straight out. I swear I'm still walking while I'm projectile vomiting with passion for a solid 20, 30 seconds. And then
never heard it described as that.
Sand gel and blow your nose and you're back in again. You're back in your hammock. And she's like, take more medicine. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And just as we're talking right now, lightning striking here on the Gold Coast where I've arrived back to. I don't know if you just heard that, but the lightning just struck. So we, she's taking another bowl. So I go up and they look at me like, another bowl? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, grande huevos, big eggs, big balls. This is good. So I drink the whole thing again. This is great. I go back in again. She's like, and then after an hour, again, I'm getting angrier and angrier and angrier because every time she appears, she says, come this way, and something would happen. I can't get any clarity. and it's building and it's building. And she says, drink another cup. I'm like, drink another cup? Are you kidding me? I'm arguing with her. And so I get up and I storm in and they look at me like another, and they know it was ready for me. He's like looking at me like, you're ready for another cup. You're going to go way, way, way deep beyond the veil. So I drink a whole nother cup and I smash it down and I go back. And then an hour later, the rage starts building in me. And this storm is just picking up. You can hear it whistling through the doors now. Can you hear that?
Cool. That's so good. No, I can't, but that's amazing. It goes so well with your story. Talk about timely.
Well, in intuition, there's enough timing is always perfect. There's always symbolism around. And this is the power of the work. It is on a level that's so profound, you can't possibly fathom it, Andrew. Like from a busted ass kid growing up, I wasn't even in Tamworth. I was in Hallsville. It was towards Atunga, population 700 people. And we grow up and to have this journey around the world over the last 50, I'm 51 today. And it's so blessed that to understand that we're just energetic beings having a human experience. And there's a veil where when you cross through it, your life can never be the same ever again to have true meaning. And that was the point where the anger got to a crescendo. And he comes out to me and the Taita says to me, the youngest Taita says, you're blocked. You need to, through the translator, you need to move the energy. So they take me in, sit me down, they take all my clothes off, they start, leave my underwear on, and they start smoke and feathers and music starts building. And I start shaking uncontrollable. I got this thing happening now. I'm shaking and shaking and shaking. And then they get this vine and the wind's building more. They get this vine and they beat me with this vine. They whip my whole body with the vine. It starts tearing at my skin. My welts are all over my body and it is building my rage inside me. And then I start spitting this tree root into my wounds, all over, spitting into all over my face, everything, this spitting it into me. And my nervous system switches on like a machine. And I am burning at a temperature that is unfathomable. I'm burning up from the inside and I stand up.
Kurt, hello? Burning from the inside. No way. Hey, Kurt. No way. Oh, no. Hey, Kurt. Hello. Oh, Kurt. What happened? That was crazy. Hey, I better write down.
Lightning just struck. Lightning struck the building.
Nuts.
Whilst I'm talking about the flame, the heat in me, lightning hit the building I'm in and a complete blackout.
As soon as you said burning from the inside, I lost you.
I was still talking. Hopefully it's still on the recording.
No, I didn't hear a word of it. Can you go back and be in that pumped up? That was so cool.
Jeez, it was.
So Kirk, you had just been, let's get back into it. You had just been, you'd taken the bowl, the guys had just been hitting you, you had the welts, they were spitting from the tree root onto you, your nervous system was switching on. And then at that point you said, I'm burning from the inside. And then lightning literally struck where you are. And I lost you. Right now. Could you, with the lightning involved, I hope it's still out there, but it shows the energy that you're drawing towards you. Can you go on and go back to where you were?
So,
what about the universe? That was nuts. Anyway, back to you.
So, what's my will? This shit happens all the time. It hits me that I am just on fire. And the shaman asked, I said, how, through the translator, what does he feel right now? And I'm like, I'm so switched on. I'm so like, it's not rage, it's like power. And I said, I don't know whether I want to fight all of you or fuck right now. And they, through the translator, just burst into laughter, like, that's fun. That's perfect. That energy is perfect. The night is over. And I'm like, what do you mean the night's over? The night isn't over. You can't leave me like this. And they said, yes, we must leave you like this. You must sit with this today and we'll take you somewhere. So they took me to the river and they started, dawn happened. They let me rest for a little bit and they took me to the river and they put this mud Amy, they said the jungle is you're a part of the jungle right now. We have a very important work to do, Kirk. You must, this is very rare. They coated me in this mud. They said, do not wash it off. We're taking you to meet our uncle, who's 109 years old. And he's in the nearest village to that, which is 3 hours drive away. So drive for 3 hours, and there's a bit of a celebration taking place where 300 of the tribe were meeting to celebrate his life and a couple of other things as well. But in essence, they get that he's going to die soon. In fact, one of them even said to me, he will probably die within the next moon cycle. And everybody kind of knows it. So we're here to celebrate his life. So that night, 300 of us, 300 of them and one gringo did their medicine. And they said, we gave you the real medicine last night. Now we give you the real medicine. And I'm like, shit. So I turned up and 300 of us did the medicine, and it was even more foul in a bowl. I drink the whole thing. They're like, holy shit, you're going to go on a trip and a half. And I kind of fell asleep. I don't know how, but I fell asleep. And then I woke up to a party going on. Like they're playing guitar, they're smoking cigars, they're having the biggest party of their life. Like it's 1999, they're raging. And I am furious. And I wake up to him with his headdress on, looking over the top, and he's like, bueno, like good. I'm like, no fucking bueno. Everybody needs to shut the fuck up. I'm trying to have a moment with God here. I'm trying to touch spirit here. I'm trying to understand what the fuck is going on. And you people won't shut the fuck up. Through the translator, he's looking because he doesn't understand, but he gets it. And so he just points out to the jungle and says, fuck off. Go. Take care of your own needs. If you need quiet, go where it's quiet. I'm like, yeah. So I pick up my fucking self and I walk out to the jungle. And I get out to the jungle and I'm looking at the stars, and in between this gap in the jungle, and I just start screaming. I just start screaming at the moon and the feminine at not giving me what I come for. And she's like, excellent, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. And I just raging, more thunder and lightning, don't even hear that. Keep coming, keep it coming. And I just gave up. I just surrendered. I was like, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what you want me to do here. She said, well, what irks you? I said, well, no one cares about me, I've come all this way and I'm trying to get this done, but people are just disrespectful of being quiet, like to help me. Like no one cares about me. No one cares about me. And that's what hit home, the pain. And she says to me, because that's what you do. You're looking for reasons that people don't care about you. You don't think so. What you try and do is you think you need to be worthy of love. So you need to do things. You give, you're a giver. Like in all your relationships, you've been a giver. In as lightning hits again, in your work, you give, you change people's lives, and you save lives, and you give, but you don't think anyone can give to you. You don't think you're worthy of love. And that's what it's really about here, is you want to be worthy of love. But if you want to know the answer to this, you need to go and have more medicine. So I go back in and he's waiting for me. He's got another bowl and everyone's looking at me like even the locals aren't doing a second bowl. They're going, because this is some heavy shit. And he gives it to me and I smash that thing down and he goes, fuck off, and sends me out to the jungle again. And I go out to the jungle and she's like, you misbehave, Kirk. You manipulate people. You behave in a way that, especially with women, you're searching for love. You're trying to find love. You're trying to be a certain way to bring love to you, to be impressive. Let me help you. Just let me bring love. Let love find you. And with that, I was like, shit. And I took a breath and I just fell forward in between my feet. I'm sitting on a stool, on a log, and my forehead is falling and it hits the dirt, the mud in between my feet. And the back of my wrists is on the dirt. So my forehead is in between my feet, but my butt is still on a chair. Try doing that. That just goes to prove for your listeners that flexibility is not physiological. It is neurological. Because there's no way in the world with a guy who has not been able to touch his toes for the last 3 years, as you know, with my 5 lots of hip surgery, all that jazz, a hamstring tear, I cannot get the flexibility. And there I am in between my feet. And I started falling through the earth at increasing speed. The next morning, they were laughing. I said, what are they laughing at? He said, well, they kept on sending people out to check on you. And the first guy comes back and I said, how is he? He said, well, he's upside down, paralyzed in the mud, crying his eyes out. And they all went, yep, that's where he needs to be. Perfect. So they were all laughing about the position I was in because they kept on sending people out hour after hour. How is he? He's still upside down. I was upside down for hours. For hours, I was upside down. And that's when it hit me, falling through the earth at increasing speed for several hours. And I came to my ordeal. It was my ordeal. Those days up to it, I approached the innermost cave. And the ordeal was trying to survive and the pain that I felt about being so disassociated. And you know what she said to me? She said, we are born worthy, Kirk. You were born worthy of love. You were born worthy of success. You're born worthy of wealth. There's nothing you have to do to be worthy. Now, I know this shit. I've led thousands of people to this revelation about themselves, but for me, it was a layer of actually embodying it on a cellular level. I can never be the same. Never be the same. And it's up there with the top 5 moments of my life. Of the hundreds of practices I've done, top 5 moments of my life where I can never be the same as thunder hits again. I can never be the same. Falling, getting sick, sleeping for 3 years, stabbed in the eye, the 2 moments I died. And this moment, we actually cover these on this podcast, are 5 moments where I can never be the same ever again. And it changed my perspective. And you're high when you are face down in the mud and paralyzed, and you're having a conversation with a shaman, a witch doctor, Taita, who has half of his face burnt off when he was a child. Beautiful man, Kerubin, I love him. And he is talking to me in his indigenous language. And I'm understanding every word of the most important conversation in my life. And I can't say anything because I'm paralyzed. I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah. And then you talk in his native tongue. And I'm like, shit, that's true. And she said many things to me, about my role and and she said, you're coming back. You're bringing people back. And how you're going to bring people back is you're going to set them up you're going to be the translator. This is not your purpose, but you will bring people back that will be their purpose, to be the bridge between our worlds. These brothers, this tribe, ready to articulate deep, profound, meaningful work in people's lives. But it takes the translator. And more importantly, she said, what you're going to do is you're going to bring them back to the natural world. You're going to take them, you're going to give them the reward. The reward coming out of that day, just going, I now have a worth in me. Like she said, she pushed me. I physically felt something push me face first. I slid my face forward in the mud and ended up face down mud. And she's like, I'll heal you. And through the earth is just like, I felt like a mushroom, like mycelium. I get what a mushroom feels like because the energy was just coming up and through me and back down through the earth and cycling through me. So I'll heal your hips. And dude, I can touch my toes for the first time in 3 years without any flexibility training. My hip is the best it's been. I just did 3 concerts in the last week. Ministry of Sound, Rufus Du Sol last night, Guns N' Roses, all these opportunities, and dance for 8 hours. You know how busted I would have been. I would have been unable to walk. And I am as flexible as I've ever been. Like she's just healing me from the inside out. And then I come away from that. I come back to the resurrection. I come back to the city. I come back to Medellin. It was a Bogota, Medellin. And my buddy's like telling them the profound work that took place. And they said, we want you to get onto Tinder. Let's test this out about love, and I'm like, Tinder? And they're like, yeah, we want to see what the effect is and see if you're full of shit. And I've never been on like a dating app or anything. So they said, we'll fill out your profile. So I filled out my profile and we went to dinner and they said, let's check it an hour later. And 50 plus women had written me messages. Now, 50 plus stunning women had written me messages to want to connect. And I accepted the full George Costanza. You know, hi, my name's George, 42. I'm single. I live with my parents. I just gave them the complete truth. Kirk, I'm 51. I'm only here for a couple of days, and I just had a profound experience. But this is where I'm at in life. And not expect that, just complete bold truth. And that had the most incredible effect. And just realizing how previously I would have not said I'm 51. I wouldn't have said things that I think are not what they want to hear. That's an act of manipulation born of not worthy. So the effect was profound. And as an exercise, it was wonderful. I got a chance to meet some wonderful women and just engage with them, nothing untoward, but just a chance to engage from a different level. And even coming back to Australia in the last couple of weeks, the feminine is so much lighter than the density of than a man's nervous system, and they feel it. So I had this inexhaustible source of just wonderful women just approaching me. I'm just going, they feel it. We don't feel it as the masculine, the feels it. Changes. So that's the return. And the elixir that I have is literally coming on a podcast with you and going, I now have a 4-month container, and it starts in 2 weeks. And I'm taking people through the exact steps that I went through, the hero's journey, as she told me. And I'm taking people back down to the Amazon in February to undergo the ordeal. But they need to do the work with me. They have 6 sessions with me to set them up. They need to have 6 group sessions in a very elite bunch of people who are ready for profound meaning. It's very important. People, let's say someone, Jeff Bezos, wants to give away $150 billion. If he's doing that to make up for his wound, the only thing guaranteed to happen is he will receive more of his wound, and it will not affect the world in the way he wants. If he truly, truly wants to affect the world, he should come and do something like what I'm doing, what I'm leading, so that he can understand himself. Then he can give away $1 million, and it will have a ripple effect across humanity, because he won't be doing it away from his pain. Know thyself, the meaning of life. Everything you do up until that, sure, you can have a good life, but it's not nearly the meaning that it can be. You'll not win a Formula One World Championship until you come to understand, Daniel Ricciardo, that you would rather have people like you than win. And that's
how do people find you for such a program? So this meaning in 2 weeks' time, Kirk, you're doing this for the first time ever. And how do people find you to do that? Or you tap out the network of the people that you work for, or?
I'll throw down a link. I'll give you a link. You can put it underneath that. They can tap on that. They can go to the website, theluckbubble.com. It's a rudimentary website, but there is a connect through there that you can get a hold of me. You can reach out through Instagram. My staff will see it. If you go directly through direct message, my staff will see it, and they'll pass it on to me as well. But I'll give
sorry, Kirk, to interrupt, but you'll be doing this again, won't you? Because when this goes live, I'm so sorry, when this goes live, it'll be some weeks from now, but you will be doing this again, won't you? It's not as if you're going to just do it one time.
I don't know. She only ever shows me that one step, and that one step is that this very next one is the most important. I dare say there'll be someone else there that will want to take it on, and will be there. When I say take it on, they'll become more of the bridge. My role is to bring people to want to change, even though I'm good at changing people. She didn't show the next steps, not clear. All I know is this is directly in front of me. The 21-day challenge will be available in a few weeks for the average Joe to have a crack and test this shit out, because they're like, I don't know about this shit, but I guarantee you, do the 21-day challenge. You'll have profound luck happen in your life, which will blow your mind. That'll launch you down the journey. Yes, I'll make that available to people. By the time you go live, I'll have the link up.
Okay, brilliant. So you know how we go back to the start of this conversation, you said it's not what you do, it's how you are. Prior to that, let's call that a profound experience where you're face down in the mud with your face between your feet, exploring, pretend to be a bike rack, potentially, Kirk. The bloke prior to being face down in the mud, having that experience, and then the bloke after that. So what is that change? I feel it, and far out, there was lightning striking, which affected a little bit of this conversation, but it was pretty crazy that there was lightning striking while you're going through that. You were a bolt of lightning yourself, and then somehow there was some lightning going on, like the energy that you were sharing when you were talking about that story. But is there something that you can quantify? I know it's a subjective quantification, but is there something within your life, your thought processes, the way you are, that has changed since then that you would share?
Yeah, many things. She's actually still working in me. Medicine stays with you for a long time. Through breath work and meditation, you can hold it onto it for a long time afterwards. And the most profound thing is just that embodiment of worth. The money, sex, and power is all the same stuff. The second chakra stuff. It's the worth chakra. And the fact that I have less, I've always been aware of my need to make things bigger, that's in me. It was my father, it was in me. And that just doesn't happen as much. Like there's just a groundedness to it that people comment on, like the amount of specific women who just walk up to me and go, "You've changed. You're different."
Whoa, I heard that one, mate. That was a lightning thunderstrike right there.
Right.
Wow.
Like I said, knowledge without embodiment is a waste of fucking time. Like we've worked on my body, you and I have talked about my body and the struggle I've had with my hip. There's like a problem that I can't solve. I can heal other people, I couldn't heal myself. And I come away from this and I have the most liquid fluid hips I've ever had in my life since I was a kid.
That's
like
weird.
that, right? It defies logic. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the meaning of life, understanding myself. And there's once you step through that veil, like let's revisit this conversation in 6 months' time and come back to the Amazon again, and we'll build it and see, even measure it in success, financial success, measure it in effect on the world, measure it on getting a great girlfriend.
Is that so? There's so many metrics of success, isn't there? There's so many metrics of success. Is the one or the ones that you're chasing now is just to give those people a profound experience like you had? Is that?
Yeah, well, it basically got dictated for me. It was make it available to the masses so they get a taste of it, to open up their eyes to possibly it takes a paradigm shift. And just, it's like we grew up in country Australia.
Yeah.
To illuminate this we could talk about to people back home. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So you got to give them an experience of it. That's what the stuff through YouTube and Instagram is about, giving people a taste. And then there'll come a point in time where you feel the call. It's just like I say to people with the medicine, you got to feel the call. Don't do it because you think you need to do it. It's like, I have to do this. And it's the same with working with me. I don't work with anybody. We spend a half an hour tuning into it, going, does this serve the highest good? And that's the question that opens up my intuition to tune into them. I get a symbol about them. I go, this is, and at least half the people aren't ready to do this work. So if anybody does want to go on this journey with me, it's got to be appropriate. So that's us. And I won't be telling them anything. Intuition, I can teach people intuition in 5 minutes. They'll be tuning in as well and just go, you're right, I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, or right, I'm not ready, or right, I'm too scared, or right, I'm not telling them anything. I'm not like a master or a coach or a Tony Robbins, do this, and just regurgitating other people's shit. I'm divining shit that comes through me that you sit there and go, that's the motherfucking truth that you just said right there, and I can't argue with it. And then if they're ready for it, I just got to choose to serve the highest.
No. What the hell? It just lightning struck again or something. That's incredible. So that's the second time that lightning has struck and taken away this conversation, which was, and I was just about to say that statement. Wow. Hey, mate, how you doing?
Power's come back on, but the computer's saying no. So
it says recording here. Thor, the god of lightning, is. So there's three of us in this conversation, mate.
Yes.
You, me, and Thor. How about this? That statement that you just said to me, and there was that moment of clarity, and you were serene and powerful, I would say. I was literally about to say, mate, that was a lightning strike right there. And then I'm going to cut out. The universe did it for me. But how about this? How about let's as succinctly as possible, you choose what you need to, how you need to finalize this conversation.
Thanks for the conversation. It's sound work. It really is. And I don't need people to turn up to it, but it's my job to offer it up to those who feel the call. get in touch through the links below. Give it a crack. It will be the most profound moments of their lives, guaranteed. Yeah, and anybody else out there who's listening, get on, just check some stuff out on Instagram and YouTube, even just as a starting point to try some stuff. There's a lot of stuff there for free that you can just try, and over the next few months, every day there'll be stuff going up that can help you in ways you can't possibly imagine right now. Like I said, if you had told me as a kid or even 5 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I would have said, what are you talking about? So the journey is the reward. So thanks for, as you know too, ending up in Hong Kong and doing what you're doing on the path that you're on. So thanks for the conversation. Anybody's interested, click on the link below. Go to theluckbubble.com or to the Luck Bubble handle on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and there'll be some more information there.
Awesome, mate. Hey, so the journey to know thyself and surrender, super all worthy. You can be the
good takeaway. A good takeaway. Whether you believe it's working out for you or it's not, you're generally right. So may as well just go, yeah, it's working out.
Have a crack. So, and just to summarize again, which was the great, twice lightning struck while we were having this conversation, and at seems weird that at times where the second one I was literally about to say to you, the word that you said was like a lightning strike, and then lightning struck. Read into that what you will. I'm unsure of it, but far out, that was a couple of surreal moments, which were really cool.
And stuff like that where you're on track. Like those little moments, like all great cultures, especially indigenous cultures, is just so much more finely tuned into nature than what we are. For instance, the bird is always the herald. So a bird will squawk, a bird will appear when there's a moment that has real gravitas. Nature will tell you if that's the truth. Like when you're talking about it, just what we had just experienced just then. It's not the first time, it won't be the last time. But when you're in it, there's just so much evidence. You go, that is what you need to get out of your mind. Intuition is what happens directly before your logical mind goes, yeah, nah. So act on those impulses and life will change for you, I promise. We need to be trained in it. We're just not initiated. We're just not, as 14-year-olds, we're not taken into the jungle and taught how to be men and women and die a death to infantile stuff. We don't know ourselves. So we have to do it later in life. Thus, people like me doing this work for people.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks,
and thanks for summoning the thunder gods. And I look forward to hearing about that trip that you're taking those people on. I didn't mean trip as in. Look forward to that journey that you can take those people on. But let's touch base again after this, Kirk, and do this again.
I like that a lot. And we had a chance to kick it back and forth. Always good conversations. Cheers, bud.
Awesome, mate. See you later, guys. And for those of you listening and being through the lightning strikes, if you're still here, I'll be back in 2 weeks with another fascinating guest to share a story of maybe some type of journey or something that we believe is of value for you. So tune in again, speak to you again in another 2 weeks. See you, Kirk.
See you, mate. All the best. Cheers.
All the best. See you, mate.